Welcome to the deep dive. So, you pick up a document titled Hydration Tips for Weight Loss. And, well, you probably expect to be told to chug 3 glasses of ice cold lemon water before breakfast, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like something to magically boost your metabolism.
Exactly. But instead, the text just immediately pivots. I mean, it completely ignores its own title to essentially tell you that hydration is just one tiny piece of this massive holistic puzzle.
Right. And it hints that your entire framework for thinking about weight loss is probably flawed.
Yeah, it's wild. We are jumping right into a short but incredibly dense piece of source material today.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this because our mission today is to deconstruct what turns out to be a fundamental systemic blueprint for human health.
It really is a brilliant piece of misdirection. I mean,
hmm
the author uses this highly specific, almost clickbait style title to draw in someone who's looking for like a biological cheat code.
Totally. We all want the cheat code.
Right. But the moment you start reading, the text just forcefully rejects the premise that a single trick like just drinking more water can somehow bypass human physiology.
So we aren't actually looking at a hydration manual at all.
No, not even close. We're looking at a comprehensive physiological ecosystem.
And the text establishes this baseline philosophy pretty aggressively in the very first sentence. It says, healthy weight loss begins with sustainable habits rather than quick fixes.
Which, on the surface, just sounds like standard self-help advice.
Right, like something you'd see on a motivational poster. But given the biological focus of the rest of the document, there's a much deeper mechanical reality being acknowledged there.
What's fascinating here is the deliberate contrast between the words sustainable and quick.
Yeah, because they're total opposites in this context.
Exactly. A quick fix, say, a crash diet where you drop your caloric intake to zero and basically live on cabbage soup, is treated by the modern dieter as a temporary inconvenience, right?
Yeah, just suffering through it to reach a static goal.
But from an evolutionary standpoint, your body doesn't know you are trying to, fit into a swimsuit for summer. It thinks you have entered a famine.
Oh, wow. Which obviously triggers a whole cascade of defensive biological mechanisms.
Precisely. When you introduce a drastic, rapid change like that, you trip a physiological alarm system. Your fat cells actually reduce their production of leptin.
And leptin is the hormone that signals satiety, right? Like telling your brain you're full.
Yes. And simultaneously, your stomach just ramps up production of ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone.
So you're starving and your body is literally screaming for food.
It is. And it gets worse because your thyroid slows down to conserve energy, which drastically drops your resting metabolic rate.
So even if you're eating less, you're burning way less.
Exactly. I mean, you might lose water weight or even muscle mass in the short term, but your body is fundamentally adapting to fight back. It's aggressively holding on to those fat reserves.
That makes a lot of sense. So a quick fix is kind of like putting a bucket under a leaky roof, whereas sustainable habits are, well, actually fixing the shingles.
That's a great way to look at it. The quick fix is essentially a biological declaration of war against your own metabolism.
But here's the friction I'm seeing with this, and I want to push back on behalf of everyone listening. If we know that if the sustainable route is objectively what aligns with our biology, why is human nature so deeply drawn to the extreme overhaul?
Well, we're basically fighting a mismatch between our evolutionary dopamine system and our modern environment.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
The brain is wired to seek immediate rewards. When you step on a scale after 3 days of a miserable crash diet and you actually see a lower number, you get a massive dopamine spike.
Oh, right. The psychological reward is immediate.
Even if the physiological reality underneath is completely destructive. But the text cuts through this by focusing on the ultimate biological end state.
It states that the goals are lasting health and better weight management, right?
Exactly. Quick fixes fail because health is not some destination you arrive at and then just unpack your bags. It's a baseline that requires constant maintenance.
So the moment the quick fix stops, all that progress just vanishes.
The biological elastic snaps back, and usually it leaves you with a slower metabolism than when you started.
Yikes. So if our biology aggressively defends against these sudden, drastic overhauls, how are we supposed to introduce change at all? Like without tripping that metabolic alarm system?
And that question leads us right into the core of the document.
Yeah, where it outlines what these sustainable habits actually entail. The text lays out this 10-part list of focuses. I'm actually going to read it because the sheer scope of it is what makes this document so fascinating.
Go for it. It's quite the list.
Okay, so it prescribes whole foods, vegetables, fruits, lean protein, healthy fats, fiber, hydration, regular movement, quality sleep, and mindful eating.
It is a really demanding inventory. And if we don't break down the underlying structure of it, it just sort of looks like a scattered wish list of healthy behaviors.
Yeah, just a random grouping of good things to do.
But when you analyze those 10 pillars, they aren't random at all. They map perfectly onto 4 distinct categories of metabolic function.
Okay, let's lay those categories out for everyone.
Sure. The largest category is dietary composition. That's the physical raw materials you introduce into the system.
So that covers the whole foods, vegetables, fruits, lean protein, healthy fats, and fiber.
Right. Then the second category is the titular focus hydration, which acts as the transport and solvent mechanism for all those raw materials.
Got it. And the third?
The third is physical output, which the text deliberately terms regular movement. And the fourth is restorative and mental practices, which encompasses quality sleep and mindful eating.
I really want to dig into those 4 categories because the text is setting up an intentional ecosystem here. Like, we're all pretty well informed about this stuff, so we know that sleep is good and vegetables are good.
Of course, it's not new information in isolation.
Right. But the document groups these together because they are chemically dependent on one another. You can't just isolate one variable and expect it to work.
That is the defining insight of the text. The body doesn't operate in isolated silos.
So how does that play out in real life?
Well, let's take the restorative pillar quality sleep and look at how it physically governs the dietary composition pillar. We just talked about leptin and ghrelin in the context of crash diets.
Yeah, the fullness and hunger hormones?
Well, when you are sleep deprived, even by just a few hours, your body experiences a similar hormonal disruption. Your cortisol levels rise, your ghrelin spikes, and your leptin drops.
Meaning you literally wake up biologically primed to seek out high-calorie, high-carbohydrate foods for immediate energy.
Yes. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for impulse control and long-term planning, is literally impaired by a lack of sleep.
Wow, so you're fighting an uphill battle from the moment you wake up.
Exactly. Meanwhile, your amygdala, the reward center, becomes hyperreactive. So you can have the absolute best intentions to eat a massive salad full of fiber and lean protein. But if you only slept 4 hours, your neurochemistry is actively working against you.
It's just driving you straight toward processed sugars and fats.
You cannot outwillpower a compromised ecosystem.
That is such a huge point. And that interconnectedness applies to the gut, too. The text specifically calls out fiber and mindful eating.
Right, which goes way beyond just digesting food slower.
Exactly. It's about the microbiome. The bacteria in your gut ferment that fiber and produce short-chain fatty acids. And those directly communicate with the brain to regulate mood and inflammation.
It's all connected.
So if you are mindlessly eating heavily processed foods devoid of fiber, you are starving that microbiome, which in turn can lead to increased anxiety and lethargy.
And that lethargy directly impacts your motivation for the next pillar, which is regular movement.
Yeah. And notice the phrasing on that physical pillar. It specifies regular movement, not, high-intensity interval training or running marathons.
That's a very deliberate choice. From a metabolic standpoint, the text is leaning into a concept called NEAT. That stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Which is basically the energy we expend for everything we do that isn't sleeping, eating, or sports-like exercise.
Correct. Walking to the car, fidgeting at your desk, carrying groceries, folding laundry.
Just everyday life stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
NEAT actually accounts for a significantly larger portion of your daily caloric expenditure than a targeted 45-minute gym session.
Really? That's surprising.
By advocating for regular movement, the text is pointing toward an overall active lifestyle. That keeps the metabolic engine running consistently, rather than spiking it with extreme stress for an hour and then sitting completely sedentary for the remaining 23 hours.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because this brings up a major contradiction that we need to address.
Okay, what are you seeing?
The document explicitly tells us to avoid overwhelming quick fixes because they trigger a biological panic.
Right, the famine response.
Yet, in the very same breath, it lists 10 massive life-altering categories: dietary composition, sleep optimization, NEAT, gut microbiome health. If I'm listening to this and my current baseline is eating fast food and sleeping 5 hours a night.
It sounds like a lot.
It sounds like an impossible amount. Being told to completely overhaul all 10 of these pillars simultaneously sounds exactly like a quick fix recipe for catastrophic information overload.
And it absolutely would be if the text were demanding immediate mastery of all 10.
Uh-huh.
But it isn't prescribing a checklist for tomorrow morning. It is defining the terrain.
So it's more about awareness.
Yes. By outlining the entire ecosystem, it prevents the reader from falling into the trap of false isolation.
Like thinking you can just drink a gallon of water a day and completely ignore the fact that you are sleeping terribly.
Exactly. The text is providing the blueprint of a fully functioning metabolic machine. You have to understand how all the gears connect before you start turning wrenches.
That makes sense.
If you don't recognize that mindful eating and regular movement are biochemically linked to your sleep quality, you will get frustrated when your little hydration trick fails to produce results. The list is comprehensive to show you the ultimate destination, not to dictate the immediate speed of travel.
Which pivots us beautifully into the execution phase of this document. Because knowing the 10 pillars is daunting, but the text immediately follows that sprawling list with a highly specific instruction.
Right, an instruction on how to actually implement them without triggering that biological alarm system.
It is arguably the most crucial sentence in the entire document because it bridges the gap between theory and reality. It states, small, consistent actions performed every day lead to lasting health, improved energy, and better weight management.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the operative words there are small, consistent, and everyday.
So the secret ingredient isn't the intensity of the action.
No, it is the frequency.
I mean, we hear the phrase small, consistent actions all the time in productivity spaces. It's like compound interest in a bank account. A tiny deposit every day eventually turns into a massive fortune.
That's a perfect analogy.
You don't get rich or healthy from one giant chaotic deposit, which would be our quick fix. But let's apply this to the biology we've been discussing. How does doing something small actually bypass those metabolic tripwires?
It comes down to allostatic load. That's the cumulative wear and tear on the body's systems from repeated or chronic stress.
Okay.
A massive diet overhaul introduces a very high allostatic load. The body perceives it as a severe threat. But a small action like choosing to drink 1 glass of water before a meal or just walking for 10 minutes after dinner.
It's so small the body doesn't freak out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It introduces such a minimal amount of stress that it sneaks right under the radar of your evolutionary defense mechanisms. Leptin doesn't crash, cortisol doesn't spike.
So it's basically biological stealth.
That's a great way to put it, biological stealth. And when you apply consistency, doing it every single day, you engage the brain's neuroplasticity. We were talking about the physical rewiring of neural pathways.
Oh, this is fascinating.
Have you ever heard of Hebb's law?
Oh, yeah. Neurons that fire together, wire together.
Precisely. Every time you perform a behavior, a specific circuit of neurons fires in your brain. If you perform a massive, exhausting action just once a week, that circuit fires weekly and infrequently.
That doesn't stick.
Right. But if you perform a small action every single day, that neural pathway is activated repeatedly. The brain responds by myelinating that circuit.
What does that mean, myelinating?
It means it literally coats the pathway in an insulating fat that allows the electrical signal to travel faster and much more efficiently.
It's like a river carving a canyon into solid rock. A single massive flash flood, our quick fix, might cause some surface erosion, but it mostly just runs off and causes chaos.
Good comparison.
But a steady, persistent flow of water over time literally alters the physical landscape of the rock. The small daily repetitions are carving those neural pathways until the behavior becomes totally automated.
And once a behavior is automated, it requires way less cognitive load to execute. When you don't have to spend willpower to remember to hydrate or to get quality sleep or to engage in regular movement, you have successfully altered your baseline.
The ecosystem is now self-sustaining.
Exactly.
And that concept of a self-sustaining ecosystem directly explains the final section of the text. It lists 3 specific outcomes of these small, consistent actions: lasting health, improved energy, and better weight management.
The sequencing of those 3 outcomes is brilliant.
It really is, because look at what the author placed at the very end of the sentence: better weight management.
Right.
In a document literally titled Hydration Tips for Weight Loss, the actual concept of weight management is relegated to the very last position. It completely reframes the entire objective.
It is highly intentional. By listing lasting health and improved energy first, the text is making a profound physiological statement. Weight management is not the primary mechanism of human health. It is a secondary byproduct.
But we usually view it the other way around, don't we? We think, if I lose weight, then I will be healthy and then I will have more energy.
Yes, so we attack the weight directly.
Which triggers the quick fix famine response we talked about.
But the text forces a reversal of that logic. If you execute those small, consistent actions across the 10 pillars, your systemic health improves. Your gut microbiome balances out, your hormones stabilize, your sleep architecture deepens.
The gears start working together smoothly.
Yes, and when your health improves at that cellular level, your physical energy naturally increases. You literally have more ATP production in your cells. You have better mental focus.
And then the weight management just happens naturally.
Exactly. When you are a healthy, highly energetic organism that is constantly engaging in regular movement, your body naturally sheds excess fat because it no longer perceives a famine.
It feels safe to release the stored energy. Weight management isn't a standalone target you can hit by just starving yourself. It's the inevitable mathematical consequence of a biological system running efficiently.
It completely removes the adversarial relationship we have with our bodies. You aren't fighting your metabolism to drop pounds. You are repairing the engine so it runs cleanly.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at what appeared to be a simple, frankly kind of clickbaity list of hydration tips, and what we actually found was a foundational biological philosophy.
It's quite the journey from lemon water.
Right. The core takeaway from the source material is that true health isn't about finding a singular magical lever to pull. It requires recognizing that you are an interconnected ecosystem,
An ecosystem where the quality of your sleep dictates your hunger hormones,
which dictate your food choices,
which alter your gut biome.
which influences your mental state and drives your physical movement. It's all one loop, and the only way to shift that massive ecosystem is through biological stealth.
Those small, daily, consistent habits.
Exactly. Habits that physically rewire your brain and slowly optimize your metabolism over time.
Which leaves us with a paradigm-shifting question to consider.
Oh, I like where this is going. What is it?
If the biological reality is that lasting health and improved energy are the primary drivers, and better weight management is simply a natural result that follows, how would your daily choices change if you threw out your scale entirely?
Wow.
What if, starting tomorrow, you stopped measuring your success by gravitational pull and only measured your progress by how much physical and mental energy you had throughout the day?
That completely changes the immediate calculus of every decision you make. I mean, if I'm only measuring for energy, suddenly a heavy, highly processed meal looks like a terrible choice because I know I'll feel lethargic an hour later.
Exactly. The feedback is immediate.
The small, consistent actions become immediately rewarding because they give you an instant return on energy rather than a delayed return on a scale. That is a fantastic lens to view this through. Thank you for diving into this with us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And for everyone listening, your challenge moving forward is straightforward. Don't try to master the entire ecosystem by tomorrow morning. Just pick one small, consistent action from that 10-pillar list and carve that neural pathway today. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.